Revisiting a magical bookshop of your youth on a scavenger hunt sent to you by your dead uncle? Yes, please? The Bookshop of Yesterdays by Amy Meyerson follows Miranda as she returns to where she grew up to take over the bookstore once owned by her uncle after her uncle passes away and leaves the bookstore to her in his will. And it's amazing. I love this book. It's totally great. It's a book about a bookshop, which is really all you need to know. And this bookshop really is that magical, fantastical bookshop that you love and see in all the movies and really want to dive into. It's great. And there's a scavenger hunt that goes on too, which is so fun, and I love it. And I love the fact that the scavenger hunt is literary themed and just books and scavenger hunts. I mean, combining them, what else could be better, It's great. I love it. And it's such a fun read because you have that aspect of the scavenger hunt, but you also are dealing with her life and the emotional fallout of her uncle passing away and stuff. So it's got both aspects of action and kind of emotion, and it's great. Books, TV, music, and movies, all things that make a big impact on everyone. I'm constantly gushing about my latest read to anyone who will listen, so I figured I'd turn my rambling into something coherent that people might actually listen to, which means no tuning out halfway through. I'm Maya Ghosh, and this is my take. So now, as always with a book, we're going to start on the writing, and it was good. I mean, it's, again, that pretty stereotypical book writing, not amazing, but not bad in any stretch of the imagination. It's fun because a lot of the clues on the scavenger hunt are excerpts from other, famous books, so it's cool that gets, incorporated into the writing and stuff. And I will say, it does center around the Tempest, that's a big theme throughout the book, and this is the second book now that I've read that's kind of Tempest-centered, because for school this year we had to read 2 books by the same author as a summer reading project, and I read Hagseed and The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and Hagseed is a rewrite of the Tempest, but they're doing the Tempest in the novel. I don't really know. I didn't get it because I haven't read the Tempest, so it's making me think that I need to read the Tempest. So maybe I'm going to read The Tempest. I don't know. We'll see. I do have to say, on the writing, it's set in LA, right? And as a Northern California resident, the fact that they call all the roads the 101, the 5, the 405, no, it's just 101. You're on 101, not the 101. You're taking 101, please. That irked me to no end. But that's a personal pet peeve, and if you're not from California, that's not a big deal. So, it's fine. Anyways, writing, good, not great, standard book writing, easy to enjoy. We're moving on. I'm gonna look at this as a general plot aspect because there's not really enough major characters to break it all up into character based. It's not We All Looked Up that follows 4 different perspectives. It's just that's not. It really just follows Miranda. So we're talking about Miranda. The prologue is really sad because it's her as a 12-year-old, and I feel really bad for her in that situation because not only does Billy not show up to her birthday, then he puts her in this impossible position with the dog. He should not have done that. Being the adult, he really should not have been I'm gonna get you a dog even though I know your mother doesn't appreciate you having a dog or want you to have a dog and is probably gonna make you take it back. No, don't get her the dog in the first place. You brought her hopes and dreams and all this aspirations up to 100, and then her mom had to crush them and bring them back down to 0, and it's your fault. And so that was stupid and annoying, and just being 12 is so hard. So I really felt for her in the prologue, but then it jumps and it starts with her living her life as a 30-something-year-old teacher in Jersey, but mostly her life in Jersey is, I think, maybe 1 or 2 chapters. It really isn't that big of a stretch in the book because very quickly she gets the package with the first clue telling her, she needs to go back to LA because Billy had died. So her, like, time in Jersey is not a huge deal. It is a huge deal because she has a boyfriend in Jersey, and I will just say I never really liked her boyfriend. Like, I never really liked that she wasn't really comfortable in his house and felt like it was only his and she was just visiting. And I didn't like that his parents didn't seem to like her. And I didn't like that he spent all his time at soccer. So later on, when she kissed Malcolm and cheated on Jay, I was very happy because, we only condone cheating if it's a bad boyfriend, and Jay was a bad boyfriend. So I was very happy she cheated. And then very happy she finally broke up with him and, moved on and left that life. So, yeah, didn't like Jay, didn't like her life in Jersey. Very happy most of the book was set in California. And, like, I was very happy that she decided to take over the bookstore and not just kind of leave it to its devices and let it go bankrupt and stuff. Like, when she found out how bad it was and stuff, she was like, no, I'm going to make it my mission to help fix this place and help get it back up and running because that's what Billy would want. And it was what Billy would want. And I was very happy that she didn't just be like, oh, screw you guys, I'm going to go back to Jersey and be a boring history teacher and leave you to be, bankrupt. Like, yes, I felt bad, and it would have been totally justified had she not taken over the store and had she left it and had she, let it go bankrupt, because it was in shit financial shape. But I was glad that, like, they banded together, they made a plan, they planned the gala. They were like, we're going to do book clubs in this gala and we'll get sponsors and all that stuff. Like, I was very glad that they did that and they had that whole plan and they saved the bookstore because it was great. Now, I will say, the one thing they didn't think of in their plan is they should have done monthly book-themed scavenger hunts around LA. Like, how fun would that have been if you had been like, here's your first clue, and then it was like a line from a book and you had to figure out what it was talking about and then go to that thing. Like, that would have been so cool. She could have totally done it. People would have paid to do it. It would have been like an escape room type of thing. And it would have been so fun. And I think I'm really just saying this because I really want to do a book-themed scavenger hunt. And I need somebody to set up a book-themed scavenger hunt for me. But I don't know. We'll see. It just, that seems like it would be really fun. And I really wish they would have done it. And if anybody out there is listening, please set me up a book-themed scavenger hunt. I will love you forever. Going back to, like, her involvement in Prospero's books, I felt really bad that she wasn't, like, immediately accepted in the bookstore family, but I feel like if I was one of the Prospero employees, I would have been, like, had the same reaction and not immediately accepted her and been like, well, who are you? Where have you been all this time? Why haven't you been here? Why don't you talk to Billy? Like, I get their standoffishness, but I also feel bad because it sucks for her. Like, she had a connection to this place when she was younger, and by circumstances out of her control, she had to lose that connection, but she didn't want to. So I wanted them to all just drop it and be like, no, we're going to be friends. So I was very happy that they eventually, like, welcomed her in, and then the picture that she saw on the website of, like, the Prospero family, and she was in it. Like, I was very happy when they started becoming that little family unit and really, like, loving each other and caring for each other, and it was great. I loved it. It warmed my heart. And then obviously the biggest plot point, her finding out that she's Billy's daughter, which the way she finds out fucking sucks. She's to find out through a newspaper clipping. Like, you're 30 years old, your parents in air quotes, have known about this your entire life, didn't tell her, didn't think, oh, it might be important to mention, nothing. No, she just has to find out through a newspaper clipping on her research for this whole, scavenger hunt thing. Like, I felt so bad. How do you keep that secret, too? Like, her parents knew, people knew. How do you keep that secret for 30-odd years? How do you plan on keeping that secret for the rest of your life? Like, what the hell? She handled it a lot better than me, because I would have torn out of there like a bat out of hell and screamed at everybody in my life and been like, you never told me, you didn't. Like, I would have flipped out. She handled it much better than I did. And, like, just the fact that she had to find out that way, and then she went to Lee and he told her the whole story, and then when she did confront her parents and they were like, we couldn't, it was Bill, like, it was, nah. Like, how do you do that to somebody? That's what I really want to know. Like, how does the world or people around you conspire to keep that, like, huge ass secret from you for your entire life? Like, it's your, like, had she not done this, had Billy not died, she would have gone on her entire life thinking that her parents were her parents and not really known. And, you know, off living in Jersey with a boyfriend she doesn't even like. Like, what the hell? You know? And then, like, I felt really bad because the moment where I think a lot of the readers put it together and, like, where I put it together was when she went to see Evelyn's dad and he was ranting about how Evelyn had a child and all of that stuff. And she was like, oh, you're confused, you know, you're talking about your wife and all that stuff. Like, I felt real bad because I was like, oh my god, she's gonna find out through some terrible way. I mean, it would have been terrible finding out through your, I guess technically grandfather, who's, you know, old and doesn't really know who you are and stuff. Like, it would have been terrible to find out through him. It would have been terrible to find out anyway, but actually, no. I was going to say the lesser of the two evils is finding out from him, but I don't know that that's true. The least of the evils is finding out from her parents, but, you know, they're not capable of doing that because they're like, oh, everything's fine. We're just going to live our lives our way and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I don't know. But, like, I hated that we all had that realization and we were like, I was dreading the moment she found out. And then when she did, I was like, oh, dear Lord, child. Like, I wish she'd put it together then, but I also wish she hadn't put it together then because it would have been a lot of pain for her. Like, there was just all these emotions running around, and I was, like, thinking about what I would do in this situation, and I was just like, I don't even know. Like, your entire life just got thrown upside down. I really don't know what I would do with that information. I don't know how I'd react. It would throw me for the biggest loop. I can't. I really can't. But saying all that, I did love the way it ended and how she decided to stay, and, you know, she called up her boss and she was like, by the way, it's, you know, a week away from school, but I'm quitting, like, sucks to suck. Like, I was so proud of her for doing that, and I was so proud of her for her and Malcolm, like, making up and becoming a thing, and the fact that they renamed it, too, to Yesterday's Bookshop, which, like, title, Bookshop of Yesterdays, renamed it Yesterday's Bookshop. Like, I loved that connection, and I loved how it was, like, just this whole beautiful new beginning for all of the characters, and, like, it was so perfect because we went on this whole journey that we needed to go on with them, and you left it knowing everybody was okay. We got all of these conclusions, we got all the information we needed, there weren't any giant cliffhangers. Like, it was just tied together with a giant red bow and handed to us, and I feel like we never get that in the reading world, and so it's, like, so nice to have all that, and, like, we went through all the shit we needed to go through. Now you can live happily ever after, knowing they're okay, knowing her and Malcolm are a thing, and not Prospero's, Yesterday's Bookshop is gonna be okay. Like, it was a very beautiful, heartfelt, warming ending that I very much appreciated. Now, I'm going to look at, like, two kind of major relationships that play into Miranda. So first, Miranda and her parents. Like, I don't know that I could forgive my parents. Like, okay, if my parents had told me when I was, like, 16 that 16 years of my life had been a lie, I would have been pretty pissed. I would have flipped out, had a huge tantrum, but I think I would have gotten over it eventually. Because if they had a good explanation and they were like, we wanted to wait until, you know, you're really old enough to understand and process it and all that stuff, I would have been like, okay, I understand your reasoning. But her parents were just planning on taking the secret to the grave. So I don't know if I could have forgiven them when I was, like, 30 and had to find out accidentally. When her parents were so desperate to have her, like, cover it up and be like, oh no, don't go do this, don't go do that. Like, just stay here, don't do anything. Like, be a lump and do nothing at your time in California and go back to Jersey. Like, I also have to say I feel bad for her parents because they really didn't get to grieve the loss of Evelyn because that was their friend too. It was her mom's best friend, and she didn't have time to grieve. She stepped in and took care of Miranda as a baby because Billy couldn't, and then Billy just left them high and dry, and they had to deal with it and they had to take care of her. So I felt really bad for her parents, but also like there's a point after that where you have accepted responsibility for Miranda. You do realize this is what you're doing. So you need to freaking tell her, and you need to like drop the act or do whatever. Like, obviously you feel bad. You always are going to feel bad, but you also have to be like, look, you accepted this responsibility. You need to make the decision to be truthful with your daughter and not live like a complete freaking lie for your entire life. It just, like, the whole book, I was waiting for them to just get along and fix their, I was waiting for one of two things. Either for them to get along and fix their relationship, or for it to completely blow up and her to never talk to her parents again. Because I was pretty sure it was going to go one of two ways. I'm very happy that they fixed their relationship and everything was good, but it was just like their relationship was so tense and I hated it throughout the entire thing. It was just like this weird back and forth of her living there and then not, and then it just was so icky, and I was like, every time they had a scene together, I was like, oh my god, it's so awkward. So I was very happy that they finally fixed their relationship and everything finally came out. And look, at the truth, sets you free. Why didn't they doing this like much earlier? I don't know, but I was very happy that everything reconciled. Like I said, I liked that we got the ending tied together with a pretty red bow. The other relationship I want to talk about really quickly is Miranda and Sheila. And I loved this friendship. Like, it was so good and nice for Miranda to have a friend like that who knew Billy and could give her a connection to that world, but also was just like a really kick-ass friend and was always there for her. Like, their relationship was so nice and it was so great. And I love Sheila, and I love that she donated so much of her time to keep Yesterdays open and stuff. And like, their relationship and partnership and like friendship was just really great throughout the entire book. So I was very happy with it. So, to wrap up, it's an amazing book. Like I said, I loved it. It was great. It was amazing. It was cute and sad and funny, and we got the perfect, like, ending with everything we needed, and we can leave the characters happy, and it just is really great, and I think everybody should really read it. It was really fun, too, especially, like, with the clues in the scavenger hunt, because I'm not that well read, but the first clue, not the first clue, she goes, like, the clue about Frankenstein with, like, the tall limbs or whatever. I got that, like, 2 seconds before it was revealed in the pages, and I was like, oh my god, Frankenstein, and then, like, 2 sentences later, it's like, Frankenstein. So I felt so proud of myself for doing that. So it's like, if you're super well read, it'll be really fun to, like, read the clues and see if you can figure out where you're going with it and stuff. So it was just, that aspect was really fun, and it had it was a really nice undercurrent to the whole book to have, like, we're going on her relationship, and her exploration of her relationship obviously revolves around the scavenger hunt, but it also was, like, you didn't completely, like, there was Miranda's emotional journey and then Miranda's scavenger hunt journey, and they were inexplicably linked, obviously, but also, like, the scavenger hunt was just a nice, tiny bit of fun to go through, like, this really emotional, crazy, hectic journey. So it was great. I loved it. I think everybody should go read it. So, yeah. I have been Maya Ghosh, and this has been my take on the Bookshops of Yesterday by Amy Meyerson. Thanks for listening.